पादपद्मे तयो श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः नमस्ते यतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. First of all, I'm extremely happy to be with all of you this evening. I've been to Dubai several times. I always have wonderful memories of my trip there. I certainly hope to go at least once when the situation eases, because that old ticket which we need purchase is still lying unused. So probably we'll get a chance. Anyway, it's always good to make the best use of opportunities available to us now that we are all in this virtual mode. This is particularly the time, the times like this during pandemic, or when we face an extraordinary situation like this, where something beyond our grasp is a most distressing situation. Every day we hear the news of someone dear and near passing away and so on. Actually, this is the time, this is the real test of our spiritual moorings, our spiritual roots. Because when everything is good, it's nice to take the name of God and say, oh, it's okay. But then in the difficult times like this, that is a real hallmark of a true devotee who holds on to the lotus feet of the Lord. And ultimately, such a devotee is redeemed. Of course, this has happened in a very widespread way. Largely, we hear those who are affected, at least I think the group that is here, you are all quite safe. But then, if you look at the lives of great sadhakas like Meera, Prahlad, and many others, they have all gone through insurmountable hardships, difficulties, and only through that they could get the grace of the Lord. I don't think you can give even a single example where people lived an extremely comfortable life and then also got the sanidhya or vision or realization of God. I don't think so. It doesn't happen. These are all mutually exclusive. So let us see at the same time how far we can go. It's individual's call, how much a spiritual life is a very pressing issue for us, how much we really long for it, how important it is for us, how much we can plunge into it. It's all absolutely individual decisions. Probably in that context, the Ramakrishna tradition assumes extraordinary significance. What is this tradition all about? Before understanding the tradition, we should at least try to get a glimpse of who Sri Ramakrishna was. Because if the tradition is in his name, we should rather try to understand him first and then through him about the tradition itself. But that's not an easy task. Girish Ghosh was so confused. He once asked him, are you a man or a woman? Because when he would exhibit his manliness, it was extraordinary. Again, his soft nature, his emotions, it was quite impossible for many to even make out. Once, when he was in that mood of Madhura Bhava, he got himself dressed in a sari and all that. And he went into the inner apartments of Mathurnath. Mathur's wife was very devoted to Thakur. So after some time, Mathurnath asked him, can you find out where is her father, Baba? She couldn't. She had met Sri Ramakrishna many times. So, Girish asked, can you tell me? And Sri Ramakrishna's answer was, I myself do. Because he had so little consciousness about himself as a person, his body, his being, his existence, was always in an extraordinary spiritual mood. Obviously, he couldn't say anything about it. Where his physical appearance or his spiritual moods, what was he? Was he a householder or a monk? He was always wearing white clothes. He was formally wedded to somebody. He lived in a room. He used to put on woolen clothings, varnished chappals, and then a cap to cap it all. But then he had the most extraordinary qualities of Tyaga, which no monk could ever even dream of. And those who became extraordinary sannyasis were youngsters who sat at his feet and were blessed by him. So again, we really do not know who he was. Swamiji had tested him so much, even just a couple of days or so before he was to give up his martyr frame. If you can tell me now who you are, I will really believe you. Then instantaneously, the sparkling answer came. Even now you have doubts, Naren. He who came as Rama, who came as Krishna, is in this body Ramakrishna, not in your Vedantic sense. Of course, this statement itself is so important, maybe it can be a full discourse some other time if we get an opportunity. So it was such a myriad-minded genius, such a multifarious personality, so difficult to know about him. Finally, Swamiji called him as Avatara Varishta, the greatest of the avatars. Why? Why did he say so? What was his speciality? When somebody asked Holy Mother, Mother, what was Sri Ramakrishna's greatest quality or speciality? He did the Dharma Samanvaya, is it that? He said, no. All that he didn't do with any purpose. Matlab kare karanni. It was not that he had premeditated and thought about. No. It came spontaneously during the search for truth. But the greatest speciality of his life is his tyaga or renunciation. Unprecedented exhibition of the qualities of renunciation. That's what Holy Mother described as a very special feature of Sri Ramakrishna's life. No doubt, true, but probably lesser minds like us would like to even think of Sri Ramakrishna from a slightly different angle. Probably is Anugraha Shakti, the redeeming power. The redeeming power of Sri Ramakrishna was so extraordinary, and that is why the epithet Avatara Varishta seems to sit very lightly on his head. Yes, all avatars had come for the redemption of mankind. But then, why this one more avatara? Because even the Gita also says, Ida ida hidharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatvanam sujamyam pavitranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskritam dharma samstapanartaya shambhavami yuge yuge. He comes again and again, he says, for re-establishment of dharma, not new dharma. The old Sanatana dharma is being re-established. That is true. But every avatara must have something very special, very distinguishing feature. Otherwise, the old avatara, the old idea itself can continue. What is the need for one more manifestation? So each avatara should have something very, very special. Probably in the case of Sri Ramakrishna, to my little thinking, I feel that it was his Anugrah Shakti or his redeeming power that marks him out as someone very extraordinary. He himself said somewhere, for those for whom it is the last birth, they come here. Do you need a bigger statement than that? What is the ultimate aim of spiritual life? Any sadhaka, perhaps the foremost is to cross the ocean of samsara, the unending cycle of births and deaths. So he himself says that for those for whom it is the last birth, they come here. I think that's an extraordinary assurance of Sri Ramakrishna. Somebody asked Mahapurush Maharaj, Shivananji, Maharaj, what is the meaning of this? Because we have not seen him, we have not met him. Is it not applicable to us? Is it for those who met him physically? Maharaj said, no, quite obviously, because the clerks and others who are in Dakshineshwar temple, they were terribly antagonistic to him. They thought that this man has done some tantra or mantra and something has captured our Malik, and that is why he's having such a good time. We are not allowed to steal and so on and so forth. How much some of those who lived day and night with him, like Haladhari and others, got, we don't know. But even now, we hear stories of people in far off lands who had never even heard of this name being uplifted. So Mahapurush Maharaj in reply said, coming here means truly coming to Sri Ramakrishna in a spiritual sense, accepting completely with heart and mind that he is the Redeemer. He is capable of ending the cycle of births and deaths for us, and doing sadhana with that sincere belief and with tremendous effort. If people can do it, Mahapurush Maharaj said, then only the term last birth for those who are coming here would be meaningful. So many people came to Sri Ramakrishna. We have instances of extraordinary redemptions. We can talk about this for the next couple of hours. Let us try to see a few very striking examples. Let's take the case of Master Mashai. A typical example, a typical householder, torn asunder by the family problems, the fight between his mother and his wife, it reached such proportions. He was a much respected person in those days. Those days, a school headmaster was considered someone very extraordinary. It had reached such proportions, he thought he would put an end to his life. So he had gone to Baranagur, to his nephew's house, to spend a few days. He had taken his wife also with him. Then he thought he would end his life. So one day, he and his nephew, they roamed about. They went to several places. Towards the end of the day, maybe sometime in the evening, suddenly his nephew said, here there is a temple garden. There Paramahamsa lives. Would you like to see? Normally, for a person in that mood who had come to give up his life, no, I have seen enough, let us go. But he said, no, let us go and see. See, that is how, when the moment comes, when something extraordinary is going to happen in your life, we always think that adversity is very bad. No one wants to face any adversity. None of us want to face a difficult situation. But you would see that every transformation happened during such adversities, during such times. That's why the greatest prayer or the most powerful prayer ever acknowledged is that one by Kunti. When she prayed to Sri Krishna, Vipatas Santunaha, let again, let difficulties, problems, dangers come to our life so that We may never forget you, and you would always redeem us. How Sri Krishna was so close because of the difficulties that Pandavas. Their utmost trying circumstances, it was impossible to kind of survive. Starting from what happened to Draupadi and so on, they took complete shelter in him and they were redeemed and uplifted. That's why Holy Mother says, Dukkha is the grace or prasada of Bhagavan. Actually, if you all examine our lives, if at all we show some sincerity in our spiritual practice, it's when we are in difficulty. But generally in difficulty, we pray for some lollipops, something to give us these, that way. But then the sincere sadhakas definitely turn to serious prayer, etc. at that time. So adversity is what really brings that, and all transformations invariably happen in such great moments. So he went, and it so happened they straight came to the room where Sri Ramakrishna was staying. That's not at the entrance of the Dakshineswar gate. The temple, the imposing temple of Mother Kali is much closer by. The tendency would be to go there. And they did not know, they had never come there before. They did not even know where his room was. So that's how destiny shapes our life. If only during difficulties, adversities, if we can even give a portion of our mind to our own object of worship, our spiritual practice, or our Ishta Devata, life can be very, very different. Very different. They came, and standing outside, what he saw was something stunning. Sri Ramakrishna and a few devotees were there. Normally, that's how 10, 12, 15 devotees that only on Sundays, on holidays, there used to be more number. They were all there. Sri Ramakrishna was talking and then he was dancing in ecstasy. There was kirtan. This is the impression Master Moshe got when he saw. He felt as if Sukadeva was explaining Bhagavata. As if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was singing kirtan and dancing with his devotees. Imagine the impression, the impact of such a feeling when you go to see a spiritual personality. He was tremendously impressed. We all know under what circumstances Sukadeva, his exposition of this Bhagavata, was just at the point of time of death of Parikshit, is it not? Similarly, here is a person about to end his life and is hearing the words of Sri Ramakrishna as if Sukadeva was expounding the Bhagavata. He was so deeply impressed. And that impression completely changed his life. Of course, it was not an easy studentship under Sri Ramakrishna. He had to undergo again and again tremendous scoldings, corrections. Sri Ramakrishna would come down heavily, at least in the initial days. He was scolding him right, left, and center. Because most of our lives, it's often the unlearning that has to happen first. We all have our own huge accumulation, our samskaras, the heavy load with which we come. So the first is the unlearning or jettisoning the load that we have. Only when we empty ourselves, God can enter. We're already full with so many unwanted things. Your heart is full. Where is the place for God? Sri Ramakrishna himself tells somebody, say, I want to come to your heart, but it's so full of dirt and such things. Where is the place for me, he says. So initially, it is the emptying, the unlearning. So naturally, it was very, very tough to start with. But then, as days went by, Sri Ramakrishna was compassionate, compassion incarnate. How many times he had advised him separately the intricacies of spiritual life, of sadhana, what he should do, how he encouraged him again and again. You may be a householder, you may be in the house. Don't worry, doesn't matter. What is tyaga inside the house? What's the difference between formally renouncing and staying inside the house and practicing the virtues of renunciation? So many minute details completely solved his problem of Dvaita and Advaita. He was a person who had deep leanings towards Advaita. And she used to tell him, how can he imagine God as a human being? How is possible with the same flesh, blood and all? Slowly, slowly, slowly. So much so it came to him, they used to tell him that, is it that God has taken a special form to bless devotees? This is how he started feeling about Sri Ramakrishna, the person who was deeply inclined to Advaita to start with. In this journey, you will see in the Kathamrita, in many places, it's Master Moshe himself. He is not revealing his name. He says it is more, or he says it is a visitor, he says it's a guest, and so on. A devotee. In so many ways, he has concealed himself and he is participating in the discussions. Several times he asked Ramakrishna this question: is it possible for a householder to reach God? Is it possible for him to realize the ultimate? Extremely relevant, extremely important for all of us. All of us are caught in something or other. Ashrama is one kind of samsara, the house is another kind of samsara. Maybe there are certain situations are more conducive, better, and all that. Anyway, this question is very relevant for the vast majority of mankind, whether it is possible. And again he assures him, it is possible, it is possible, it is possible. So much so, once Master Moshe asked him, what if one's family, they are all totally opposed to such spiritual pursuits? And immediately Sri Ramakrishna spontaneously says, give up such a family. Master Moshe was stunned. How is it possible? He knows that his wife and children, others totally depend on him. If he goes away, they would all have to die of starvation. He was stunned and he was sitting. Then Sri Ramakrishna comes near him, tells in his ear, only for him, he says, if a person has true love of God, everything gets arranged for him. A family member who is totally opposed, the king, and even wicked people, they all come under his spell, so to say. And Master Moshe sighed a sigh of relief. So he clearly tells him, again and again it's possible. But then he has given several disciplines, several steps to be taken wherever you are. So he would say that it's so easy. God is like a magnet and you are like a needle. The needle is full of dirt. That's why it's not getting attracted to the magnet, which is God. But then, with their own tears, if the dirt is washed away, then the needle would get easily attracted to God. See, every example of Sri Ramakrishna is so telling, so important. And the more and more you read it, you will get newer and newer light what he's saying. So when Sri Ramakrishna says that God is magnet and you are the needle, the first assurance is your place is with God only. You are very by nature, in your intrinsic nature, You are capable of being attracted and being attached to God. That's the first assurance he gives devotees. So you don't have to worry. So in your real nature, you don't have to worry, I'm worthless, I've done so much, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, I'm not doing anything, I don't have this, I don't have Shraddha, I don't have Bhakti, I'm not. You don't have to worry anything at all. He says, in your intrinsic nature, you are such that you are bound to get attracted to God. Now, what is the impediment? The accumulation of dirt. Now, what's the solution Sri Ramakrishna is giving? Your own tears. That means you don't have to seek anything outside. Within you is the capacity to reach a state whereby you can become deeply attracted to God, can become deeply devoted to Him, can do deep and intense sadhana. The solution is within you. You have to shed tears for God. So you don't need any external agency, anything from outside. It's all within you. Not only that, what is the nature of the dirt or the accumulation that Sri Ramakrishna is talking about? Supposing on the needle, if there's mercury or some other deposit, I don't think water can dissolve it. It's simple, water soluble dirt. Something just your own tears, true tears of Vyakulata for God can wash them away. So, in this small example, how Sri Ramakrishna gives such a wonderful solution. For you to progress towards God, you don't have to seek anything extraordinary. You don't have to do anything of such intense tapasya as some of the traditionalists did, as even as the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna did, even the first generation monks did, or some of the great householder devotees like Yogin Ma, Gauri Ma, or Nagmashai and others did. No. Simply you shed tears with intense vyakulata, and that's it. You get it. So again and again is his assurance. Now let's take the example of another great devotee. His name was Kalipata Ghosh. He was Girish Ghosh's elder brother in drinking. Some 12 years before he came to Sri Ramakrishna, his wife came. She had been so much tormented by his beating and his behavior, drunken behavior. She was absolutely distraught. And she came to Sri Ramakrishna seeking solution. So said, I don't know anything. Go to that lady who's in Nahabat. Sent it to Holy Mother. Holy Mother was shocked. She has never done anything. No, he is the person. So back and forth it went. Finally, Holy Mother took a bilva leaf and wrote something, probably Ma, Mother Kali's name, and gave it. You keep it with you. And this would solve the problem. Probably there was a turnaround in Kalipata Ghosh's life. 12 years later, he came to Sri Ramakrishna. Through the influence of somebody, how he came, I don't know, he came. And then, so he met Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna straight away said, he has come here after tormenting his wife for 12 years. You can imagine his shock when somebody straight away says like that. Then Sri Ramakrishna asked him, what do you want? So more in jest and kind of, to put off Sri Ramakrishna, he said, I will be happy if I get a drink or wine. So Sri Ramakrishna says, would you like the Indian one or the Bileti one, foreign? He was shocked, right? Oh, every kind is available. Oh, I would prefer the foreign. Oh, okay. But the intoxication will be such that you may not be able to withstand it. He said, no, 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 I am a veteran. Then Ramakrishna touched him, finished. That was the end of Kalipata Ghosh. He wept and wept and wept. Uncontrollably he wept. Finally, Ramakrishna had to touch him again to bring him back to normal consciousness. Then, so Kalipata Ghosh understood then and there. Here is a person who's really capable of redeeming me. My background is such, normal Mahapurushas or spiritual people can't do anything for him, but this person is capable. So he was waiting for a suitable opportunity, so to say. Shyamkrishna used to go to Calcutta once a while. Often he would go by boat. Somebody would hire, somebody would arrange. One day Kalipata Ghosh had hired a boat and brought it. He anchored it in Dakshineswar Ghat and said that, are you intending to go to Calcutta? Yes, 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 you come with me. I have brought the boat. Innocently, Sri Ramakrishna got into the boat. So Kalipata told the boatman to take it to the center of the Ganges. So quite deep, it had gone quite a distance. Then Kalipata Ghosh fell at Sri Ramakrishna's feet and caught hold of it. He said, I won't leave it. Sri Ramakrishna said, what are you doing? What are you doing? You have brought the boat to the mid-Ganges and no, 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 I won't leave it. What do you want? Please tell me. Assure me. When I die, I will see darkness all around. You must come at that time. You must bring a lantern in one hand and hold me by the other hand and take me across. Sri Ramakrishna was trying to say something general. No, 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 unless you accept it, I am not going to leave. Finally, Sri Ramakrishna had to agree. And Kalipata Ghosh's life was something extraordinary. It's not only the householders, many of the future monastics, each one has an extraordinary story to say, as it were. Ramakrishna's beauty was, once you get into that orbit, once you get into that ambience, you are held forever. There's no question of you are going. Even if you want, he wouldn't allow you to go. Maybe here and there you may roam for some time. You may get distracted. You may get diverted. You may take a different. But finally he will bring you back. But then those who submit themselves willingly and go along the path, it's easier for them. But those who try to resist, who try to do here and there and all that, for them it's a greater struggle maybe. Raja Maharaj was from a family of zamindar, so to say, very rich people. So he was often asking Sri Ramakrishna. He was also deeply interested in sadhana. He was a great spiritual aspirant. He was doing intense sadhana. But somehow he was not getting that kind of spiritual experiences which he wanted. So he was pestering. Sri Ramakrishna would always say, yes, 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 it will happen, it will happen. Don't worry. One day in Dakshineswar, Rakhal was polishing his feet with oil. Again he brought up this subject. And Sri Ramakrishna knew sometimes the patient has to be given a strong medicine. Then that day he really scolded him severely. Then Raja, Rakhal was from a zamindar family. He became so upset. He broke that oil bottle there itself and simply left in a huff. He went up to the gate, but he finds that he is not able to take one step beyond that. He felt as if someone had tied his feet. He was not able to move. Then, in the meanwhile, Sri Ramakrishna had sent Ramlal Dada, they used to call him, to bring him. When he came, Sri Ramakrishna is smiling and asking, could you go? So, that is the power of Sri Ramakrishna. That's many of us from such diverse backgrounds, north, south, east, west, India, abroad, somehow we ourselves do not know how we came under this extraordinary influence. What brought us? Many of us, we struggle for words. If someone asks, how did you come? Who brought you? What made you come? Somehow. Many of us would say like that. We rarely would have a very clear explanation. Such and such thing happened, so and so, like that. That is how I came. Very rare. Generally, it's all happening in a very mysterious and mystical way. But the beauty is, once you come, you are taken, you are given shelter, and that is permanent and that is eternal. But Holy Mother also has said, if you want to enjoy the complete freedom, liberation, accordingly one has to work for it. You see the diverse people who came to Sri Ramakrishna. On one hand, Swami Vivekananda, greatest of intellectual. The whole West was at his feet. At the other end of the spectrum, you have Latu, who could not even learn the alphabet. Sri Ramakrishna tried in vain and finally gave up. He couldn't teach him even the alphabet. Totally unlettered person. Ramesh Palak. He became an extraordinary Brahmagyani, such a great Brahmagyani. Once he had gone to Benares, he was there. He spent his last several years in Benares. Along with Swami Shantatmananda, he had gone to hear a pravachan by a Pandit on Kathopanishad. So when the Kathopanishad explains the portion, Angushta Matra Purushottaratma, simply he jumped. Sudhir, Pandit ठीक बोलছে, Pandit ठीक बोलছে. Because exactly tallied with his experience. Pandit ठीक बोलছে. He's not listening afterwards. On the way back, Sudhir was leading the way. Every now and then, Sudhir, Pandit ठीक बोलছে, Pandit ठीक बोलছে. Night, 12:31, somebody is knocking at the door of Sudhir Shuddhananda. Opens, Maharaj, at this time, Sudhir, Pandit ठीक बोलছে. Was so much overwhelmed, exactly tallying with his experience, totally unlettered. Raja Maharaj, always in Samadhi, so mystical. Sharat Maharaj, absolutely calm, solid, no external expression of anything. Then you have Girish Ghosh, Suren Mitra, then Kalipata Ghosh, then traditional, that Ramchandra Datta, such Master Marshal, Balram Bose. And then you have these kinds of diverse group, Gorima, Golapma, Yoginma, all of them, Gopalirma. So, this clearly shows that this tradition is meant to attract each and everyone, irrespective of your background, caste, creed, culture, which religion. Today we have monks from Muslim families, Christians, any number, Jain, Buddhist family, anyone, devotees all over the world. Sri Ramakrishna goes beyond that idea of a formal religion, a classified religion of certain rules and regulations. Maybe Sri Ramakrishna is a kind of foundation, stepping stone for any spiritual aspirant. Using this foundation, using this help, one can go in any direction. Even a Buddhist would understand his Buddhist ideas much better through Sri Ramakrishna. That's why some of the Christian disciples used to say. One Christian, very famous person used to come to him. Sri Ramakrishna, hearing him, he said, I seem to understand Christianity much better after talking to you, after listening to you. Even if you read Kathamrita, There's hardly anything which clearly says it's a Hindu scripture. It's so Catholic for such diverse minds. So it is anybody can come, and anybody and everybody is welcome. There is no restriction. There is no choice. You can be a householder, you can be a monk. For anyone and everyone, there is enormous hope, enormous assurance. You will be taken care of. You will be redeemed. So this Anugrah Shakti, the redeeming power, that seems to be an extraordinarily special feature of this Ramakrishna traditions. Ramakrishna himself says somewhere, the the tender, the coin or a currency of an earlier era would not be valid in the current age or the current era. You want the legal tender, the currency of the era which is valid, which can be used. So, in that sense, for this yuga, for this Kali Yuga, especially for this age, he seems to be an extraordinary path, extraordinary opportunity for people to seek their spiritual goal, spiritual solution to life, the goal of life, the spiritual redemption that's possible through him. So, in that sense, it's an extraordinary opportunity for each and every one of us. But then, as Sri Ramakrishna himself says that, he gives that famous example of the Annapurna temple of Kashi. He says somebody get food in the morning, some in the noon, some in the evening, some even late at night after Sandhya. It depends upon your hunger. Similarly, it depends upon our spiritual hunger. We want it if we are so determined, if we are so much done with the world, we have that virakti or vairagya, if we feel completely dissatisfied, then yes, you can plunge deep. Or you can take time, you can take a detour, you come slowly. But the idea is never to give up, at least to keep the practices, even in a small way, to the extent possible, so that we are not completely dissociated or disconnected from this extraordinary idea. Do it, do it to some extent, do it as far as possible. But then, if you do it with greater intensity, with greater purpose, with obviously through His grace, it's possible to progress much faster. But then, it's at least necessary to stay connected, to be in touch, to do certain minimum spiritual sadhana, so that we're always within that ambit. At the right time, when the opportunities come, we can plunge deeper and go faster and reach the ultimate goal of our life. And I think Sri Ramakrishna's blessings are on all of us, and He is ever ready. That's why Master Musha says you are like the ocean of compassion, Karuna Sagar. Swamiji wrote that Pranam Mantra, Stapakaya cha Dharmasya, Sarva Dharma Swarupini, Avatara Varishthaya, Ramakrishnaya Te Namah. Namaskar. So those of you, in case you want to ask something, we have another 15-20 minutes time. So you can ask. Otherwise, of course, we can disperse. From my side, what did I have to say? I've said.
Thank you, Maharaj. That was the most wonderful exposition of today's topic on Sri Ramakrishna, the Ramakrishna tradition. I will request anybody who wishes to ask questions to Maharaj, kindly put your questions to Maharaj. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah. Once you ask a question, then you mute yourself and listen, because otherwise there will be disturbance. Very difficult to ask questions. Yes.
Rita Dr.
Yeah. Oh, acha, Rita, very good. So nice to see you. Tell me.
The situation is very difficult.
Yeah.
So we try to concentrate and put our mind towards God. We listen to lectures, everything, but still sometimes the mind goes down towards, like, নিচের দিকে চলে যেতে থাকে। So how to practice or do something where we can lift it upwards?
Yeah, you see, this is the very nature of human mind. Particularly when something adverse happens, we tend to fall apart that way. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna always talks of satsanga, company of the holy. All these are all examples of satsanga. So you have so much opportunities now. So we have to keep on again and again. We cannot, come what may, we cannot give up. Swamiji says, because you cannot get Rama, would you settle for Kama? No. So we know, it's like that. Yes, sometimes the mind may go down, doesn't matter. Again we'll pick up, again we will do. There is nothing else to do in life. Particularly people like you have seen so much of life. You don't have much to do in the world actually. So you can spend again and again in various ways, whatever makes you, maybe sometimes you can listen to such beautiful songs of Thakur Ma Swamiji, other bhajan, sometimes japa, sometimes prayer, sometimes listening, sometimes talking to others about it. So many ways one can do. Na? Sri Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mat chitta, madgata prana, bodhyanta parasparam, kateyantascha mam nityam, tushyanti charamanti cha. Talking about me, singing about my glories, and telling each other, paraspar. So that's one another. See, instead of just being all alone, you just find something extremely nice, share it with somebody, talk to somebody. Then your joy becomes more, and that person would also share something with you, or at least you're happy that you have shared it with someone. So this is the only way. There is no other way, but there is nothing to feel worried at all. That is the nature of the mind. Sometimes it go down, sometimes it go up. But then if you persist, if you are relentless, ultimately you will be the winner. It takes time. See, we only know for ourselves how sincere we are, how much time we are able to give. The more and more we are able to give, it's possible. That's how people have done it. See, we have the history of people who have reached so many great sadhikas like Gauri Ma, even a simple person like Gopalarma, Golapma, how they all did it. They all did it the same way. There's no other shortcut. In religion, in spirituality, one thing is, whatever you do will not go waste. That's why Bhagavan also says in Gita, Svalpam apesya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. When if you do something that will relieve you of the greatest of fears, it's possible. But to the extent possible, you must do. Sam himself says, if you go one step forward, he will not come 10 steps to you. But at least we must go one step forward. That much we should do. Let us keep doing. We cannot set any time limit. These things are not subject to any human calculations because they don't come under the domain of indriyas. What is transcendental cannot be measured through the indriyas. So we have to wait, we have to wait, we have to wait, pray and wait, pray and wait, pray and wait. That's all we can do. But then, if someone is sincere, over a period of years, one would certainly feel greater peace and greater stability. That much is certain. That much is certain.
Maharaj Sudeep Ghosh.
Yes. Yes, Sudeep, how are you?
Fine, Maharaj.
Ah.
Maharaj, you used the word redemption quite a few number of times, and the Redeemer, which Christ the Redeemer, the Brazil also we know. এই জিনিসটা একটু if you can slightly more explain the word redemption in the context of relieving the mankind from the sins and whatever their past karmas.
Yeah, see, redemption, redeemer in the sense that taking you to your spiritual destination. Ultimately, that is what it means. Redeeming you from the cycle of birth and death. Taking you, helping you cross the ocean of samsara ultimately. So it's possible. See, the choice is there. Now it's up to us to work for it, is it not? If you say that I'm busy with this and that, so many things, my family, my properties, my money, my investments, all that, all right, you come later, it's possible. But if you have that intensity, it's possible. You can do it. That's why I gave the example of Annapurna temple. So, redemption in the sense, true spiritual exoneration or taking you to the heights of spiritual goal. What is the goal of human life? Because it has been clearly discussed in the Shastras, proved by those who have done sadhana. Of course, as far as the negative aspect of worldly life, we all know there's nothing in this world. Even the richest man, if you ask him privately, he would say that there's nothing in this world. So only people try to cheat themselves by indulging in some this or that to temporarily forget their disappointments or this or that. Whether you have 1 lakh crores or 1 crore, a few lakhs or 100 rupees, everyone has worries, uncertainties, problems, difficulties. No one is free from all. No one is free from that. Yeah, irrespective of where you are, how you are. So the goal of human life, that's why, is always stated as getting rid, going beyond this unending, anadi ananta, samsara sagar. It's anadi, we don't know how it began. So for the most people, it continues as if for eternity. But can we put an end to it? Whether we can we cross this ocean of samsara? Can you get rid of this coming back again and again? Can this be? So that is the real redemption in ultimate sense. Of course, in the intermediate, there are so many steps, like you're getting some glimpse, getting some peace, feeling better, feeling little joyous, feeling like more doing sadhana, deep meditation, and so on. There all might be some glimpses here and there. But ultimately, the idea is to go beyond the cycle of birth and death. And that's possible. That's what Ramakrishna says.
Any other question?
Pranam Maharaj, this is Sudeshna. Sudeshna.
Oh, Sudeshna, how are you?
Pranam Maharaj.
Maharaj,
I was reading an interesting book called Think Like a Monk.
Acha, I heard about this, but I didn't get to see. It's written by whom?
I think I'm forgetting the name, but
Anyway.
it's an interesting book, and it was telling us how we should, being a householder, how we can think like a monk. So, Maharaj, in your experience, you have seen householders as well as monks. So, what is the basic difference between a monk's mind and a householder's mind?
So I can only guess. I cannot really tell you a householder's mind, is it not? But the point is, there are specimens in both sides. Not all monks, not all those who wear ochre clothes are like that. Some of them also might exhibit some here and there, although it may not be very gross, some desire for name, fame, these, that might be. But if you're a true monk, the real thing is vairagya is quite strong in them. The spirit of renunciation compared to householders. Householders, always they have to think in terms of protecting their wealth, property, progeny, house, wife, husband, children, so on and so forth. That's what completely drowns them, the thought of all these things. Whereas, if you're a monk of at least even some established stature of some level, definitely the level of vairagya can be definitely a big factor. Suppose, I've been in Delhi for 15 years. I was in Belur Math for 30 years. I was heading very big. The moment they asked me to leave and go to Delhi, I never looked back. Although many of the things I had myself set up, all those things were completely organized from kind of start, like from scratch. But it did not occur to me even for a day that I'm leaving all this going. No, I really felt satisfied that maybe this is the real test that way. So I never felt, oh, it's all what will happen. I have done all that. I have established all that. I never ever ask them how it is going, what is happening. Whenever they wanted help, I did. So this can be a very thinking, the attachment to the things of the world. That can be a major factor. But I have seen, my eyes were opened, I have seen in Delhi itself. Housewives, I mean, one is a teacher, one is somebody else, wanting nothing except God, nothing except Thakur. And I can't claim that amount of allegiance or that kind of tibrata. I can vouch for them. They want only Thakur. See, one person, she has just a son. That boy is one of our children's forum member. They're doing this Swamiji's 150th birth anniversary. There's a big program. In front of Prime Minister, the children were performing. Naturally, our son was a topper. Obviously, he was having a big role. See, other parents who didn't have anything, their children, they were all clamoring for a pass for that function. I gave her, she said, no, Maharaji, mera jarorat nahi. I don't need it. And she simply went to the temple to do japam and meditation. So there are great examples in both places. So one cannot define and say that this is that. But the householder's mind, as a general, if you say, it's a tremendous attachment to so many things. The things which they are connected day and night. They cannot get rid of it. They cannot overcome it. So again and again it bothers them. But if a person has been a monk for some years, he has practiced at least to some extent the monastic virtues, the sense of detachment and the spirit of vairagya is much, much strong. That can be a very major factor.
Maharaj, the book is written by Jay Shetty.
Who is he? I don't know.
He was a monk for a few years in India, and then he went back as a householder, and then he started teaching everyone.
Maybe. Anyone else? We have another 5-10 minutes. 8:50 that we can do, no problem. I see so many new faces. I have not seen many of them before.
Yes, Maharaj.
There's one Indrani.
মহারাজ আমি মালা বলছি আমাকে মনে আছে
Yes, very much. Where is Mala? Oh, yeah.
আমি
Yeah, anything you want to say?
Pranams Maharaj. Shamaya.
Shama, you're in India.
Namaskar. Yes, I've joined from Pune. Yes, Maharaj.
Tell me.
Maharaj, if you don't mind, you spoke about two types of dirt on the needle. One is the water soluble one, and the other one. Can you please throw some more light on the other one and how we can try and overcome it, please?
No. See, Ramakrishna says the accumulations, the dirt in the needle of your soul is by nature like that. It's simple. It's water soluble only. I'm saying, see, the example of Sri Ramakrishna makes it so beautiful. You don't worry about your past or what you did, what you didn't do, whatever you have done, that your accumulations, your sanskaras, your papa, punya. No, you don't have to worry. It's like a simple water-soluble mud. I'm saying, if you had said that you kept it aside and said it's like mercury or something else, which cannot be dissolved by water, then your tears can't do it. You need an external solvent or agent. So Sri Ramakrishna says, whatever you have assumed as your defects or problems or deficiencies, your sins and this or that are simply just simple accumulations of mud type dirt, which can easily be dissolved by your own tears, which is within you. You don't have to go seek anywhere. So, the solution is as simple as that. That's what Sri Ramakrishna is trying to say.